back to Bad News Channel, where you hear about all the news that you totally want to hear about. Today, on today's story, we have a very, very special guest that I will be interviewing today, and she's from a book called The Handmaid's Tale. You guys may have heard of it. Here she is, Offred. Hi, Offred. How are you doing today?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here, considering that I would much rather be here than where I was, so.
Yeah, that's good. So, we just got a couple questions for you here today, but before we do that today, Offred, we are just going to give a little summary, a little brief connection to how you are connected to the story, just so our viewers can just get a better feeling for how you are and who you are as a character. I mean, as a person, because you're a person and you are real. Yes. Anyways, okay, so you are a handmaid. Yes. Meaning that the Marthas and everyone who owns the Institute has control over you, right? Yes. Yeah. So over the years of being here, you love to reminisce over Luke, your child, who might be like 8 years now, you said? Yes. Yeah. However, your memory started to get foggy from being there for so long. And to keep you busy, the commander loved to play games with you, and looking like a simple Scrabble game, but could mean more. The women at the Institute were only used as birthing machines. And you watched them get mistreated often, like Janine, for example. You were good friends with Offglen and Moira. Offglen, your little spy buddy, did adventures together. And Moira, who was your childhood best friend, you'd say? Yes. Childhood best friend who had a lot of misused power, you could say. I mean, she literally almost killed one of the leaders. That is true. Yeah. Anyways, in the end, you got taken out of the institution, and we never knew if you got your freedom back. Obviously, since you're here, I mean, we can kind of see that, you have a little bit of freedom, or else why would they let you on live television, right? Okay, well, moving on. So, now that our characters, I mean, you guys are real people, right? So, now that our viewers have a little bit of a better understanding of how you felt and what was going on in your life, let's just talk about the central idea, the theme, what your life story is all about. What can our viewers really get out of that, Okay, so we have concluded, me and my team, because I have a team, that the central idea / theme of your story is that control can be easily misused, however powerful to those who want it. Would you agree? I do agree. Yeah, okay. So we understand that the idea of having control can create an immense amount of power, although dreadful if put into the wrong hands. While reading the story, you can comprehend that whoever appears to be in control is intimidating, you could say, and uses it to their every advantage. Yes. Yeah. You bring up how before you got into the Institute, how it was normal for most women to have jobs. However, your boss had to let you go since it was the law, and this shows how the government got too much power and used it against women. And that was only the start, for the people who ran your institute used their power way more than needed. Women were viewed as objects, for their bodies were used as vessels for the children, and that only. They are viewed as simply carriers of life, now that the men have control. Later on, you mentioned how you could steal something from the room you were in, alternatively, not ever taking it. You mentioned it would make you feel that you have power. Although it was too risky and the feeling of power was only an illusion to you, it's showing the Institute has taken over your mindset, and even just a little feeling of power is overwhelming, especially to one who has never had it before. Would you agree? Yes. Very, very much so. Okay, so, Alfred. 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 Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So now it's time for the actual interview part where I'm gonna actually ask you questions now. So I hope you're excited. Yes. So, Alfred, what is the feeling of power to you? Well, it may be more of a feeling of protection, not even power. It's the feeling of being in control over myself and my own actions that's comforting to me. Ah, yes, that makes sense. Do you feel as if the commander used his power misleadingly over you? Well, it depends on how you look at it. I personally enjoy my time with him, but someone may look at him as overpowering me. I don't individually feel that way, however. Okay. Do you miss your life before this place? Why, yes, of course, I dearly miss Luke and my daughter. However, my memory is starting to get foggy, so I would not know if all of it was pleasant. You make a good point. That is true. Didn't even think about it that way. What was your favorite part that you can remember before this place? I always loved the feeling of Luke in my arms, hearing his laugh and him telling me how much he loved me. Oh, that was cute. He made me feel safe, like I had protection and was real. That's nice. Why do you get so scared when you think you might gain power with such little things? Well, for starters, I've never really held power before. It's the feeling of not knowing what I could do with it. Who knows? I don't want to start an apocalypse or anything like that. I would not want to abuse the power that I would possess. On the other hand, it's a calming thought. It's nice to know that maybe one day I might be able to make my own decisions. I mean, I kind of can now, but it'll never be the same from once it was. That's a nice thought. That's nice. Why do you think the commander wanted to play Scrabble with you? Possibly could be just for a fun game. However, maybe a mind manipulation game. You see, most handmaids could not read that well, for they did not know many words. Perhaps he wanted to see how much I really knew. Either way, I had fun with him while it lasted. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad that was good for you. Yeah. What were your first thoughts when you first entered the party that the commander snuck you into? My first thoughts were thoughts of both fear and freedom. It was my first time outside in years, although I was so scared of people finding me, even though I was in a disguise. That's understandable. I get scared of people too. What gave you the motivation to keep going through the hard times in the Institute? Very honestly, I think it's the commander who got me through it. It seemed that he actually enjoyed his time with me, and it was something to look forward to. He seemed like he enjoyed your company, so that's good. Lastly, did you ever get the freedom you wanted after you left? Well, it depends on your depiction of freedom. I personally believe I am most definitely a lot more free than I was in the Institute. Of course, my life will never go back to the way it once was, but I find comfort in the fact that I can make some of my own decisions and know that I actually have a future in this life, and I'm not just a carrier for other life. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you find comfort in it. Obviously, since you're here, that's good. And that concludes this part with the questions. So, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for answering these questions. We really appreciate it. I'm sure the viewers out there are really happy that they could just have this experience with you, get to understand you a little bit more. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed answering your questions, and viewers, I hope they have a good day, and I hope that they enjoyed my responses as well. My life is
kinda weird, but I always have good stories to tell. Because I am definitely real and I am not a character.
Bye.
Bye! Okay, well, you heard it here, folks, today on that news channel. Now, let's give a brief little analysis of what we just witnessed. So, Alfred, over the course of the text, becomes more hopeful for her future. At the beginning, she was pretty miserable, for her life was taken away from her, and her loved ones were not longer with her anymore. However, she becomes faithful and more optimistic as the text goes on. The commander motivates her to keep going and gives her the idea of maybe one day she could be free. In her mind, the commander gives her protection. Maybe she feels some ways she felt about Luke with him. If it wasn't for him, Alfred may have stayed grim the whole while of the story. Her idea of optimism comes from her idea of freedom or power. When she feels that she might gain power, although scary, eases her mind and reminds her that maybe one day she will get the freedom that she wants. Thank you for watching that news channel. See you guys next time with very exciting news that everyone wants to hear. That is our slogan. Bye.